Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? I hope everybody had an awesome holiday weekend, Memorial Day weekend, of course, thinking about our brave men and women who serve this country, who has served this country, and who risk everything and put everything on the line for the freedoms that you and I enjoy in this country every day. Welcome to the show, everybody. Broadcasting live, of course, on the FM/AM dial, on the Occupy Democrats Network page, on the Washington Press Network page. We're all over the World Wide Web, and we have some big announcements to make about this show starting tomorrow. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about that. Going to have to hold off on that until tomorrow, but we got some great guests lined up today, a lot to get to, a lot to talk about. And coming up at the bottom of the hour, he's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, follows on social media. If you haven't already heard of him, he has almost 1 million followers on X alone. He's an attorney. He just tells it like it is. And he's co-host of Uncovered from Midas Touch. Ron Filipkowski will be joining us on the show today. Man, I love following him on social media. Such a smart guy, so honest, calling out the right-wing hypocrisy and the nuttiness, which is the Republican Party today. Ron will be joining us coming up at the bottom of the hour. Before I get to the Donald Trump hush money and the closing arguments by Trump's defense team and the prosecution, before I get into the details, before I get into Robert De Niro, who was outside the courthouse today, which was a wild and crazy situation, we'll get to all that. I do want to talk to you first, sadly, of tragedy. In the sports world, we lost two what I would consider really good people. Let me just start with Bill Walton. I haven't told this story on the air. I haven't told it to my friends. I wanted to save it for the air today. I had, and this isn't about me. This is about Bill Walton. And the reason why I'm telling this story, it just goes to show you what kind of person he was. Obviously, we all know the incredible basketball player he was, probably one of the most, if not the most dominant college basketball player of all time, winning championships, multiple championships at UCLA in his astounding NBA professional career. I had a chance to meet Bill Walton. Oh boy, this had to be at least 7 or 8 years ago. It was the Pac-12 championship when it was played at the MGM Grand, now T-Mobile Arena. And I went on one of the first few days where it was kind of like playing games and the good teams weren't playing, but he was there. And I saw him sitting in the media room, and you know, there was nobody else in there. It was empty in that room. And I just saw him. And, you know, of course, I grew up a big Celtics fan. So I had to just say hello to him, as my headphones aren't even working, by the way. So I'm just going to take them off. It's okay. Par for the course. But I had a chance to sit down and talk with him, but I didn't really talk basketball with him. He talked about health a lot and the injuries that he faced and mental health. And he was very good at talking to other people. He's good at a lot of things, but just listening. And I told him a little bit about my health issues that I've had in my life and playing 2 sports at the Division I college level. And we sat and talked about how to get mentally right and how to deal with health issues and injuries and all that sort of stuff. And we talked about it for about 30 minutes. He just decided to talk. I'm just some idiot media guy, you know, that's on the air, on the radio. And for whatever reason, he was willing to talk with me for about 25, 30 minutes. And I walked away from that interview, or I should say I walked away from that conversation thinking to myself, wow, what a great guy. You know, 30 minutes he talks to a complete stranger about his health issues and giving me advice. And I was just blown away by how caring he seemed to be and how educated he was on so many issues outside of basketball. I fell in love with the game of basketball in the late 80s. I was very young. I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I fell in love with those Boston Celtics teams of the late 80s, and it's why I fell in love with basketball. And Bill Walton was a big part of that. He was the 6th man of the year. He was a personality. He was loved in Boston, and now pretty much loved all over the country. And I fell in love with the game. You know, the teams of Larry Bird and Kevin McHale DJ, Bill Walton, Danny Ainge. Man, those were some fun Boston Celtic teams to watch. And I was very sad at the passing of Bill Walton yesterday. I did not know he was suffering from cancer, but my thoughts and prayers go out to his family. What a wonderful human being. What a gentle giant. Bill Walton will be sorely missed. And another story that, I got off the air on Friday, and then I learned Saturday morning that a phenomenal young golfer at the age of 30, Grayson Murray, passed away just hours after leaving the golf course on Friday. And he was a young man who suffered from addiction, alcoholism, depression, anxiety. The man suffered from, and I feel for him. He suffered, and he tried to help so many other people. But here's what gets me really angry, besides the sorrow of a young man losing his life, is that, again, people on the far right and the conspiracy theorists were saying, Grayson Murray dead at 30. What, did he die of a heart attack? It must have been from the vaccines. There are people with millions and millions of followers that were putting out misinformation, medical disinformation about Grayson Murray. Well, it turns out his parents put out a statement yesterday that said that he took his own life, which is what I suspected as well. Did these people on social media retract what they said? They make it seem like this was the only young person who passed away because of COVID and because of the vaccines. And it's so dangerous. And Dr. Peter McCullough is going to be joining us again on the show tomorrow. He is very anti-vaccine. And I'm going to ask him, do you take any responsibility to all this misinformation out there? People believe it. And life is very precious. I'll get more into that stuff tomorrow. But life is very precious. And we don't do enough in this country to help people that are mentally ill, those that are suffering from anxiety, from depression. We don't do enough to help people in this country. And we need to do more. And while all this stuff was going on, and we're going to talk to Ron Filipkowski about this coming up at the bottom of the hour, did Donald Trump wish everybody a happy Memorial Day and make it about those who sacrificed their lives? No, he didn't. He bitched and moaned, and he made it about himself, and he called Democrats scumbags. Happy Memorial Day. And then the next sentence in the entire paragraph was about him being the victim and attacking others. How can you vote for somebody like that, no matter how much you might not like Joe Biden, no matter how much you might be a staunch Republican and you don't like Democrat policies? Look at Donald Trump's Truth Social account and look at the things he said yesterday. The man is not capable of putting out a statement and thanking all those who risked their lives and put everything on the line. Did you see this dope at NASCAR yesterday? Did you see him prancing around saluting airplanes? Did you see this nut? And then he did an interview over the weekend on some podcast talking about his wonderful relationship with the evil, murderous dictator Kim Jong-un. Have a listen to this.
With him, but no, I felt very safe. I felt my relationship with him, as you know, was very hostile. Little Rocket Man and all that. But then all of a sudden it morphed. He respected me. I respected him. And we ended up, once we got to know each other, we ended up very good. A very smart guy, very strong guy. He's the absolute leader of that country. You know, for those that think he's not, they're wrong. And I got to know him very well. I even did a press conference. He never did a press conference before. I said, would you like to do a press conference? And we did a press conference, if you remember. And then he said, that's the end of the press conference. And boom, everybody was pretty radically thrown out. But it was a press conference, the only press conference he's ever done. I got along with him great.
Yeah, and that's really something to brag about, taking Kim Jong-un's word after Otto Warmbier was murdered. I get along with him great, writing love letters to evil, murderous dictators. And this is the person that you want to vote for. This is the person that you want to be the leader of the free world. This is the person. This is it. It's so absolutely disgusting. And, you know, on a day where we're supposed to be honoring our brave men and women in uniform, those who risk their life and put everything on the line so that people like me can go on the air and speak our mind. And as I say before and I say again, it doesn't matter what political affiliation you are from, even somebody like Ron DeSantis, who I despise politically, but I will always respect his service to this country, because anybody who risks their life for this country, I have the utmost respect for. You are a hero. But Donald Trump is not capable of talking like that. Listen to what he said yesterday about the Purple Heart, and maybe you'll start to understand what I am saying.
And he said, that's my real Purple Heart. I have such confidence in you. And I said, man, that's like big stuff. I always wanted to get the Purple Heart. This was much easier.
I always wanted to get the Purple Heart. This was much easier. You can't get the Purple Heart if you dodge the military multiple times, which is exactly what Donald Trump did. This is a guy over the weekend who's bitching and moaning, again, about his hush money case, and we'll get to that. This is a guy who's always playing the victim. And they put out a picture on social media of the Trump family talking about the sacrifices that they've made for the country. Yeah, the Trump family's made a ton of sacrifices in their life. Eric Trump, Donnie Jr., Uday and Kusei, as I like to call them, Ivanka. Yeah, they've made a ton of sacrifices in their life, haven't they? Stealing from charity organizations, the gangster family. And they want to talk about the sacrifices that they make. Well, what sacrifices have they made? And it gets me so pissed off. And he does this every single national holiday. Can we all agree? It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. If you serve this country honorably and you risk your life, you're a hero. People shouldn't make it about themselves. They should make it about others. That's what Memorial Day is all about. But we shouldn't be surprised. This is the same guy who called those brave men and women in uniform and those that are buried at Arlington Cemetery suckers and losers. This is the guy who attacked John McCain, said he didn't respect him because he was captured. Donald Trump is a coward. He won't even go on the witness stand. He won't even testify under oath. Stormy Daniels did. Michael Cohen did. Many others testified. E. Jean Carroll did. Hutchinson did. Donald Trump didn't testify because he's a coward. He's the opposite of what we look for in our brave men and women in uniform. And I got to tell you somebody else that I am so disappointed in, and her husband is a hero. There's no question about that. And that's Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley recently announced that she's going to be voting for Donald Trump. Now, I knew this was going to happen. I told you guys that this was going to happen. This is not a surprise by any stretch of the imagination. This is not a surprise. But I want you to listen over the last several months, going back 7 to 8 months, some of the things that Nikki Haley has said about Donald Trump. And this is a perfect example of where the Republican Party is at today. It doesn't matter how you feel about Donald Trump. It doesn't matter the things that Donald Trump has said about Nikki Haley, calling her a bird brain, among other things, going after her husband, who happens to be serving overseas, risking his life. Listen to some of the things that Nikki Haley has said over the course of the last year or so. And keep in mind, this is the woman who says she's voting for Donald Trump.
Times change, and so has Trump. He's gotten more unstable and unhinged.
If you mock the service of a combat veteran, you don't deserve a driver's license, let alone being president of the United States.
He was thin-skinned and easily distracted.
It's not normal to spend $50 million in campaign contributions on personal court cases. It's not normal to threaten people who back your opponent.
Donald Trump is turning the Republican Party into his own playpen, where it's all about him. He's not qualified to be the president of the United States.
So when you have somebody that makes a statement like, he's not even deserving of a driver's license, let alone the president of the United States, and then several months later announces that she is voting for Donald Trump, she has zero credibility. just like many of the other MAGA Republicans today, like the Ted Cruzes of the world and the Marco Rubios of the world and the Lindsey Grahams of the world, who pretty much all said that he was unfit for office. A compulsive liar, among other things. But yet they still will vote for him and they still support him. And maybe Nikki Haley doesn't brown-nose Donald Trump like so many in office on the right do today. But the fact that she would vote for this guy says all you need to know about the Republican Party today. That's exactly where the party stands today. And while all this is going on, Robert De Niro decided to go outside the courtroom today, the hush money trial, where the defense has rested its case and the prosecution still speaking to the jurors. And I don't know what's going to happen in this case. And attorney Ron Filipkowski will be joining us here in just a couple minutes at the bottom of the hour to kind of break things down for you. I don't know what the jury's going to decide. I really don't. I would imagine he will probably be convicted on something, which means he will be a convicted felon. But I don't know. So we're going to have to wait and we're going to have to find out. I don't know why Robert De Niro showed up. I understand his way of thinking is to attack Donald Trump and to speak the truth and how Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. I get all that and I don't disagree with him. But I don't know what good it does. You know, there were like 30 or 40 Trumpers out there that were calling Robert De Niro, pretty awful names. And, here's a guy who's arguably one of the best actors in the history of the planet. And he's out there speaking his piece. And Fanone and a few of the other Capitol Police officers were right behind Robert De Niro when he held this press conference today. And I agree with Robert De Niro. I'm on the same side with him on how despicable Donald Trump is and what a threat he is to this country. I'm with him on that. I just don't know what good it does to go outside the courthouse and to hold a press conference. I thought it was a little bit strange. I don't really understand why he did it. I don't think it's going to help anything. You have the usual cronies outside the courthouse, the Lauren Boeberts, the J.D. Vances, the Matt Gaetzes, those kinds of people. But I don't know. I just thought it was a little strange and weird. The defense, again, trying to discredit Mr. Cohen. And whatever your thoughts are on Mr. Cohen, whether you think he's a liar, which he is, kind of a scumbag, which he is. Yeah, he wants retribution, and he wants Donald Trump to suffer the way he suffered. I don't blame Michael Cohen for that. But Michael Cohen wasn't the only person that testified on the witness stand. There were many others that corroborated a lot of the things that Michael Cohen said, and I think that's really important. It's amazing to me at the time that we're in right now, how many people still defend Donald Trump. It's amazing to me when you look at just his behavior on social media alone in the last few days, how anybody could want to support this man. If you don't want to vote for Joe Biden, fine. I'll probably disagree with you, but that's fine. If you don't want to vote for Joe Biden, but how anybody could support, I just don't understand it, how anybody could support Donald Trump at this stage. I mean, this guy is so unglued. Look at his behavior at the NASCAR. Look at his behavior outside the courtroom. Look at his behavior inside the courtroom. Look at the things he said on social media on Memorial Day. This is a day where we're supposed to be thanking our brave men and women in uniform and those who paid the ultimate price and lost their lives for the freedoms that we have in this country. And Donald Trump is incapable of doing that. He only can make it about himself. And that's the person you want to be the leader of the free world? That's the person that you want to lead this country again? Do we want another January 6th? Do we want more division in this country? Do we want more hatred? I've never sat here and I've never said that I think Joe Biden is perfect, because he's not. But I have said that I think he's a decent man, a man of character. Certainly he's not perfect, but he is a good family man and a decent person. I hope Donald Trump is held accountable. I hope the jury concludes that he is a felon, which I believe he is. I hope so. Aren't you tired of it? Aren't you tired of our holidays like a Memorial Day? Aren't you tired of him making it about himself every single day, and then I have to go on the air and I have to talk about it? And yet there are still MAGA supporters out there that still are all in with this guy. I just don't get it. And it's extremely frustrating. And now we're just several months away. November is right around the corner. The first debate is going to be coming up in less than a month. It's a very important debate, and I would argue it's a more important debate probably for Joe Biden than Donald Trump. What is the worst characteristics of a human being that you can find? Somebody who's a narcissist, somebody who only cares about themselves, you could argue. When has Donald Trump not made it about himself? You look at what Joe Biden said over the weekend, his statements about brave men and women in uniform. Obviously, his son, Beau Biden, was a hero. And you look at the two families, and they are not comparable in any way, shape, or form. And I understand that Hunter Biden has had his issues. I get that. Substance abuse issues. Hunter Biden certainly is not perfect. I totally understand that. But you look at the charades, and people want to make the claim that this is a two-tier justice system. People on the far right and the MAGA supporters, they want to say this is a two-tier justice system, that this is Joe Biden's DOJ, and this is all politically motivated. If you feel that way, and if that's what you think, then I ask you the same question over and over again. What about his behavior? What about a moral compass? Do you care about that? What about character? Do you care about that? Would you rather have somebody that's an old man and you might not agree with his policies? He might not be as sharp as he was 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. Or would you rather a liable sexual abuser who is a narcissist who only makes it about himself, who has no moral compass at all? That's the question that I ask people that are Donald Trump supporters, because I just don't get it. At this point, I just don't get it. Now, this is going to be in the hands of the jury. Could be in hours. And we are going to find out Donald Trump's fate in this hush money trial very soon. We could have a verdict by the end of the week. I would imagine we probably will. If he's found not guilty on all charges, if it's a hung jury, then we are all going to have to live with that decision. But if you talk to Trump supporters, if there's a guilty verdict, they won't accept it. They certainly won't accept it. It'll be the same old right-wing talking points that it's Joe Biden and it's the DOJ. It's George Soros. It's a liberal judge. It's a liberal jury. He didn't get a fair trial. You'll hear it over and over and over again. We are going to find out, and coming up next, we are going to be joined by a guy who I have a ton of respect for. Love following him on social media. The editor-in-chief at MidasTouch.com, the co-host of Uncovered. He's also an attorney, a Marine, a former federal and state prosecutor, and as he calls himself, a Republican Party insane asylum escapee. Ron Filipkowski is going to be joining us next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. You know, no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Residents of Las Vegas, Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com and get started.
I am Eva Olivia Chase, candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, Democrat with progressive ideas, including a woman's right to choose, public money for public schools, student debt relief reduction, and forgiveness. As a trans woman and a veteran, I will fight to protect the democracy of our country. Vote and support Eva Olivia Chase for Nevada State Assembly District 16.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yousafzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
My name is Kola Akimbade. I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas. As mayor, we will offset the off-season by diversifying our economy, bringing technology, high-paying jobs, and strengthening our entertainment industry. In order to tackle this issue of homelessness, we need new money because the budget will never be enough. Therefore, we will legalize prostitution and tax money will flow. Today, go to our website, Kola, K-O-L-A, kolaformayor.com, and my phone number, 725-263-2660. Support our campaign and donate today. Again, kolaformayor.com at 725-263-2660. My name is Kola Akimbade, and I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits here on KSHP. You could be listening on the FMM dial, the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network. We're all over the place, and we appreciate you being a part of the program. Craziness, chaos, it seems to follow Donald Trump everywhere, even Robert De Niro outside the courtroom. We're certainly going to talk a little bit about that. And this case, this hush money case, is going to be in the hands of the jury. So I'm on social media quite a bit. I follow a lot of very interesting people. And the guy that we have joining us right now is certainly a great follow. He's actually one of my favorites on X. And he is the co-host of Uncovered. He is the editor-in-chief of Midas Touch. He's an attorney, a Marine, a former federal and state prosecutor. And as he calls himself, the Republican Party asylum escapee.
No, that's not it.
Ron Filipkowski joining us right now. Ron, I appreciate you being here, my friend. How are you? Did we lose Ron? Ron, can you hear me okay? All right, we'll have to get that audio straightened out with Ron because I think I don't know if Ron can hear us okay. Ron, can you hear me?
I can't hear.
Uh-oh. Okay. Well, we'll have to get that audio straightened out. I don't know why Ron can't hear anything, but we'll get that straightened down, and Ron will be joining us momentarily. Technical issues, live radio, ladies and gentlemen. This does happen from time to time, but Ron will be joining us here in just a few moments. I'm pretty sure that's something, Justin, on his end, I would imagine, right? So we'll get that squared away for you. If you haven't seen, by the way, Robert De Niro was outside the courtroom, and it was absolute chaos. He holds a press conference with a couple of the officers on January 6th, Fanone and a few others, and he holds a press conference. It was very brief, and he said the things that you expect Robert De Niro to say about Donald Trump. And then after that, you saw about 20 or 30 of the MAGA cultists screaming obscenities at him and sexual innuendos, and it was really an embarrassment. I don't think Robert De Niro probably should have gone there to begin with because you had to have known that was going to happen. But we'll give it a shot. Should we give it a shot again with Ron and see if he can hear us? Okay, we'll take a break. And here's what we will do. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a quick break? We'll get the audio squared away. And when we come back, we'll be joined by Ron Filipkowski. We'll take a quick break after this, and we'll get the audio squared away. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Residents of Las Vegas, Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your People's Choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I'm committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com or by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. You know, no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
My name is Kola Akimbade. I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas. As mayor, we will offset the off-season by diversifying our economy, bringing technology, high-paying jobs, and strengthening our entertainment industry. In order to tackle this issue of homelessness, we need new money because the budget will never be enough. Therefore, we will legalize prostitution and tax money will flow. Today, go to our website, Kola, K-O-L-A, kolaformayor.com, and my phone number, 725-263-2660. Support our campaign and donate today. Again, kolaformayor.com at 725-263-2660. My name is Kola Akimbade, and I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Trying to work out some technical difficulties here. It happens from time to time. And let's check in and let's see if we can catch up with Mr. Ron Filipkowski.
Okay.
Yes, Ron, can you hear me? Can Ron hear? No? Okay. Well, we'll keep him on here and we'll see. It's weird because we can hear him, but apparently he can't hear us. So as soon as Ron gives us the thumbs up that he can hear us, we will be joined by him momentarily. Now, I talked about a lot of different subjects, and meanwhile, until we get Ron on the line, maybe we can open up the phone lines on that. We talked about the hush money case, of course. Robert De Niro outside the courtroom, Donald Trump bitching and moaning outside the courtroom as he normally does. That hasn't changed. And we've been talking a little bit, of course, about the closing arguments. And I'll open up the phone lines at 702-221-7283. And again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. We're going to try to figure out and work out those technical difficulties that we're having with Ron Filipkowski. This normally doesn't happen on this show. We usually do pretty well when we do Zoom interviews and all that, but we'll figure it out. Maybe it's something on his end. We don't know. But in the meantime, we'll be taking some phone calls. Now, again, that number, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you'd like to be a part of the program. All right, who we got first here joining us on PTL? Who do we have, Justin? Mark is first up on PTL. What's up, Mark?
Good afternoon, Brian.
Hi, Mark.
I got two things, and the first I want to make a comment, and the second I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
The first thing was on Friday, I went shopping to a supermarket, and I always wear a veteran shirt depicting what I was used to do, veteran shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I was online, and there was a fella by the newspapers, and you had to walk by to get out of the store. And as I was walking by, he turned around, and he looked at me, and he said, "Thank you for your service." And I just stared at him, and he stared at me, and I stared at him. And this is not the first time something like this has happened. And he looked at me and said, "Is something wrong?" I said, "I don't want to hear your empty words." And he kind of looked at me and like in a puzzling manner as to why I would say that. And I looked at him, I said, you stand with a man who called veterans losers and suckers.
Mm-hmm.
That's who you stand with.
Right.
He had a shirt that said 45 on it. And that's how I knew he was a Trumper. And I said, you are wishing me a service as you stand with someone who spits on their grave, basically? And I walked away, and if I stood there any longer, I would have gotten into something bad that would have gotten me in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's not the first time something like that has happened. And I just wanted to say that I could talk about Trump, for the next 5 hours.
Yeah.
Now, here's my question to you, Brian.
Yeah.
We know that, God forbid, if Trump gets in, he's going to be like 4.0 compared to what he did in his first term. Because he said, and other people in his administration said, watch out because they learned a lot and they know what to do now. Do you think, now think about Trump and him not caring about anything once he gets in because he knows it's going to be his last time. Do you think, and I wouldn't put it past him, that he would put into his cabinet people like Michael Flynn, Steve Bannon, Kerry Lake, and Roger Stone? I'll hang up to listen.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, those are Donald Trump's cronies. Those are who he associates himself with. And it's really sad. And you make a great point that I don't know how any brave man or woman who served this country could vote for Donald Trump. I just don't. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care how much you hate Joe Biden or you hate the Democrats. He calls you guys suckers and losers. I don't understand it. I don't understand a lot of what's going on in the Republican Party. Maybe somebody that can make a lot of sense of it is the guy we have on the phone line right now, because we had some technical difficulties with the Zoom. Not sure what went on there. But as I mentioned, he's the editor-in-chief at Midas Touch, the co-host of Uncovered. A ton of respect for him. Great follow on social media. And, of course, a former federal and state prosecutor, Ron Filipkowski, joining us on the line. Ron, can you hear me okay? How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, sure can. Sorry about that. I just got a new computer yesterday.
That's okay.
I thought we got everything set up, but apparently not.
No problem. I'm sure we'll be able to get you on Zoom down the road, but I do appreciate you calling in, Ron. So many questions to get with you, and I love following you on social media. Why is it you think that there are so few people like you that are lifelong Republicans that are not willing to do what you do, which is speak the truth about how crazy the far right is today?
Yeah, I mean, there's a cadre of us, of course, but, it's been sort of the same names for quite a while now. There's a lot of, and I think really a lot of the former Republicans that are out there are some of the most effective Trump critics. So I'm like myself, Kinzinger, George Conway,
right,
Tim Miller, Rick Wilson. Some of those names are, Bill Kristol are some of the most effective critics. I think because we understand the threat, we understand the problem, we know how they operate, we know their tactics, and so I think we're giving them a lot of fits, but. Yeah. And I think I will say that I think that the Democrats and the Biden campaign have come a long way in that respect and listened to us, I think, a lot more than they used to as far as how to deal with it.
Agree. I agree with you 100%. Ron, what do you make of just Donald Trump's behavior just in the last couple days? I mean, he goes on Truth Social with his Memorial Day tweet, his bitching and moaning outside the courtroom again this morning. What do you make of it just seems like the man is not capable of not making it just about himself.
Yeah. Well, I follow Trump 24/7. That's my job. So is to track his every move, everywhere he goes, every word he speaks. And I watch every speech and read everything he writes. And what I can tell you is, with these court cases, he is far more unhinged and unstable now than he was 6 months ago and that he was in 2020. This is not the same guy. In fact, sometimes I'll go back and watch an old speech of him, even from just 2020, and I'm struck not only by his physical appearance, but the words that he uses, the language that he uses, the tone. He's completely come unglued. And I think part of that is a lot of it is panic. He doesn't know exactly what's going to happen with these court cases. I mean, in theory, he could be a convicted felon tomorrow, and he could be sentenced to jail time. And so that is a very real possibility. And I think that that's something that has caused him to really come apart lately.
And I want to get your opinions on this case and what you think is going to happen. But before I do, you touched on something that I think is very important. The far right, they want to say Joe Biden's in the bunker. He's got Alzheimer's, yet, State of the Union speech, hour and a half, everything seems to go great. and then they move the goalpost and say, well, he must have been on drugs, right? It's always something else with them. And yet when you watch, you're so right. When you watch Donald Trump speak now, even as opposed to, as you mentioned, in 2020, or he'll say that you need ID to buy bread, or he'll confuse Nancy Pelosi with Nikki Haley, or he'll say he defeated Barack Obama. I mean, the list goes on and on. But yet, these people on the far right that are the MAGA supporters are the ones that are claiming it's Joe Biden that's in the bunker that has Alzheimer's.
Yeah, and I saw this very well. And I think part of the problem is the media right now really is part of the problem in terms of they don't cover a lot of the crazy. They don't cover a lot of the gaffes and the mistakes that Trump makes. They're overcompensating for what they did in 2016. In 2016, they covered everything. They gave him like wall-to-wall coverage. They covered him too much and unfiltered. And I think that they're overcompensating now by almost trying to not cover him almost at all. And I think that that's a huge mistake. There's a middle ground here. You don't have to cover, give him an open mic, but you also can't ignore all this madness. And we at Midas, when this campaign started a year ago, we sat down and we said, we are going to cover every gaffe, every mistake, every mispronunciation, every name he gets wrong, and we're going to put it out because no one else is doing it. And I think over time that's sunk in with some of the public, that they're seeing that this guy is not all there anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you. Before I get to the actual case, I got to get your thoughts on Robert De Niro today outside the courtroom. I kind of agree with you. We agree on just about everything. I don't think Robert De Niro should have gone out there. I mean, if he wants to swear on The View and be vulgar, go ahead. I mean, we know he's a brilliant actor. I've met Robert De Niro before. He's a strange guy, but we agree on what he's trying to do. I agree with him that Trump's a threat to democracy. I just think it's bad logistics, man. And you got that 30 or 40 MAGA morons out there that are swearing at him, and you saw the way he was treated. But what did he expect, right, Ron?
Yeah, I don't agree with it at all. I mean, I agree with you totally. Like, if he wanted to do that anywhere else, like D.C., he had he had the Capitol police officers there. Like, that was not the time or the place for that. Especially, look, this trial's been going on for 3+ weeks. This is the last day they're doing closing arguments. The Biden campaign has been very careful to stay away from this and let the case play out. And I would have no problem with the Biden campaign commenting on this case after it's over and weighing in. It's just, why would you show up on the very last day and try and do this there in New York City? And their argument was, well, that's where all the cameras were. And maybe they were sitting back watching the Trump sycophants and surrogates do that day after day. But I don't think that helped Trump at all. So why would they want to copy that playbook?
Yeah, I know. Just let the Lauren Boeberts and the J.D. Vances and the Matt Gaetzes of the world look like fools in front of the courtroom. But Robert De Niro, I don't think he looked good by doing what he did. I think his heart is in the right place, but I agree with you. All right. So Ron, since you're you have a ton of experience, right, as a former federal and state prosecutor, and I know you're going to give me your opinion unbiased. We both don't like Donald Trump. I get that, but you're going to be honest with me. So I want to. We never know what the jury's going to do, right? You never know for sure. But I've said from the beginning that, I think he's going to be a convicted felon, but all it takes is one juror. That's all it takes. Where do you see this going with the jury? And do you think the prosecution did enough to prove that Donald Trump should be a convicted felon?
Well, I've been following the closing arguments here today, and I followed all of Todd Blanche's argument, and then, got about an hour into Joshua Steinglass's argument here before we did this interview. And look, I would not sugarcoat this at all, and I don't. I don't sugarcoat the trials. I give my honest opinion. I said that the Colorado case excluding him from the ballot was going to be overturned by the Supreme Court. I said it was going to be 8-1 or 9-0, and it was 9-0. So I don't sugarcoat court cases because that was my profession for 3 decades.
Right.
And I will tell you that this was a very creative prosecution, but it was a masterful prosecution. And I think Todd Blanche's closing today was terrible. He was really bad. What he did not do is he did not anticipate what the state was going to argue and how they were going to argue it and address those things. He just plowed forward, made his points, and sat down. And I thought that was a fundamental weakness of his argument. And I thought Steinglass's argument so far has just been masterful. The only critique, I guess, is that he's trying to throw maybe too much at them, and maybe he's trying to go a little too long because he asked for 4.5 hours. I can't imagine spending 4.5 hours on this case, but I think he wants to methodically go through every piece of documentary evidence. But he had some brilliant lines in his closing. I don't remember them all off the top of my head. I'm writing a story about it where I include all those lines, but I if I had to bet, I would bet that Trump is going to be convicted. Yeah.
I tend to agree with you on that, Ron. I really do. You're a lifelong Republican, so I have to ask you this question.
Right.
What the hell has happened to your party? I mean, you could have told me 10 years ago what the Republican Party stood for, and I probably would have agreed with you, and I had a basic understanding. Do you agree with me that Nikki Haley is exactly where the Republican Party is at today, where you can call her every name in the book, mock her husband for serving overseas, and yet at the end of the day, even though she says he doesn't need to deserve a driver's license, let alone the president, she still says she's going to vote for him? To me, that's where the Republican Party's at today. No backbone. I mean, what happened to your party?
Yeah, well, I left the party after January 6th, and I will tell you that my reason, and I supported Biden in 2020. I was one of the Republicans against Trump, and I never voted for Donald Trump. Really, the reason why I left the Republican Party is not because of Donald Trump. And I've said this before. The reason why I left the party is because of people like Nikki Haley at every level, grassroots, county level, statewide. I just watched person after person people that I've known for years, who I know despise Trump. I know they hate him. I know they can't stand him. And yet they openly and publicly support him and back him because they're afraid to do anything else. Either it's fear or it's ambition. And it just sickened my stomach to watch so many of these people, like Marco Rubio. I've had lunch with Marco Rubio. I know he hates Donald Trump. I know it. But he, kisses his butt all the time because it's ambition in his case.
Yeah.
And it's also fear because if Donald Trump endorsed somebody to run against him in a primary, in Florida, he'd be toast.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's part of it.
I agree. All right,
I think Haley is looking towards 2028 is what she's doing.
No question. No question. I agree with you. And that's so many Republicans that they only seem to care about remaining in power, and they're willing to kiss the ring of Donald Trump. Let me ask you about November and get your thoughts on this. My opinion has been, to this day, I don't think there's enough people in this country that voted for Joe Biden in 2020 that are saying, geez, I think I'm going to vote for Orange Man now. I think I'm going to go for Trump because I just hate Joe Biden. I'm not taking November for granted, but I still think Joe Biden holds the edge. If the election was tomorrow, what do you think happens? And I know there's a lot of time between now and November.
I think the problem is the polling in America is so broken right now because of a lot of factors that it's so difficult for anybody to get a handle on what is going to happen. And we've seen this time and time again play out in the primaries where just, when we did have a contested Republican primary, the polls were way off in race after race after race. And part of the problem is people aren't able to be reached anymore by pollsters the way they used to be with landlines, calling after dinner. People they can't get it. They can't get an accurate with everybody on social media. Nobody getting their news from television anymore, hardly, and people on cell phones and people screening their calls. Most people don't answer blocked or unknown numbers. This is the dirty little secret. The polling industry has no idea what to do. They have no clue how to accurately measure the electorate right now. And so I completely disregard all polls, but that also is what makes it difficult to sort of gauge how things are going to play out. But, I think the really interesting thing, though, the impact of him becoming a convicted felon, because from now on, he should be referred by media, and I will do this, as convicted felon Donald Trump, from this point forward. And I just have to believe that that's going to impact voters.
Agree. I mean, we know he's a liable sexual abuser, liable being the key word there, but still, and you're absolutely right. I will be on board with that and call him a convicted felon as well. There's no doubt about it. Moving forward now, I mean, who do you see as a rising star in the Democrat Party? I mean, I'm not saying, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I've never been one to say, well, Joe Biden's going to step aside. And I mean, the conspiracy theories on the far right are crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, who do you see as rising stars in both parties right now?
Yeah, I mean, look, there are so many, and that's part of the reason why I didn't really want Joe Biden to run. It's not because I thought that he did a bad job or anything like that.
Right.
That's not the case at all. I think he did a good job. But I didn't want Joe Biden to run again in 2021 because the reason is because he inherited an absolute mess, whether it was at the Afghanistan withdrawal, COVID, global supply chain issues and inflation. He inherited a disaster. And I knew that he was going to have to do some things that was going to inflict pain on the American populace to get us out of it. And he did. And he was going to get the blame for those things. And that has happened. So you have the American public who's really blaming him for something that he didn't cause.
Right.
And I knew that was going to happen. And I think that was the main reason why I didn't want to see him run. But he's running, and that's water under the bridge. As far as future stars go, look, obviously Gavin Newsom is a guy that's out there for the Democrats. But there's some dark horses out there that I really like. Andy Beshear, I love the governor of Kentucky, who has proven twice that he can win and win big in a deep red state, in a southern Republican state. That's huge. I love Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, who's very young, who needs some seasoning. I love Whitmer, and I love the governors. Democrats, I think, too often look to Congress.
Right.
I look to governors.
Agree. Yeah.
And I love Whitmer. So those are. I mean, there's plenty of other names out there, but those are some ones.
Those are some
that I
big
like.
ones. All right, Ron, an important two-part question. Maybe you could help me with this. How do you deal with the typical MAGA supporter that believes every word that Donald Trump says? For example, I could pick up the phone and end the war in the Ukraine right now. Hamas would have never attacked Israel if I was president of the United States. And the second part of my question is, how dangerous and how much brainwashing is being done right now by the far right networks, whether it be Newsmax or a Jesse Waters or a Sean Hannity?
Well, the case of Newsmax and Fox are two very different cases, and those are different audiences. You really have to. It's a mistake to kind of lump them all together, because the people who watch Newsmax the people who watch Fox are the old dinosaur Republicans. They're the old senior citizens, crotchety, scare the white people. That's what Fox is basically, scare the old white people. Right. That America is ending and brown people are coming and gay people are gonna, groom their kids and all that kind of stuff. That's the Fox pitch. Newsmax is a little bit more hard edge, right? But how do you deal with the cultists? You don't. I mean, that's my best advice to everyone is ignore them. Just hold them up to the world. Show them, look, this is what the cult is. This is who these people are, and that's why I love posting clips of interviews at Trump rallies, because I want to show America who these people are and how brainwashed they are, and say, is this what you really want to be a part of? So I think the key is you ignore them, but at the same time, you show the educated, moderate, normal people, including Republicans, who these people are, what they think, how crazy they are, and to just say to the rest of these people, is this who you really want to be associated with? These crazy nut jobs. And I'm placing a bet that most of them don't want to be associated with MAGA. And if you poll the American public on whether they affiliate themselves with MAGA, it's a very small number of people. It's like 25% of the population.
Very, very good advice. I find it very difficult to ignore at times, but that's really good advice. I'll get into it with a MAGA moron for like 30 minutes, and then I'll say I just lost 30 minutes of my life. I get phone calls every day from these people, and they drive me crazy.
I never do that. I never engage with them.
And your mental health is probably much better than mine, Ron. I'll be honest with you. But you're so good. You are so good at pointing out the crazies without the name calling, without getting into it with people. You just put it out there. Maybe it's a clip, or you'll just speak facts, and I love that about you. All right, last question. If you were in a room alone with Donald Trump right now, what would you say to him, if anything?
I would say definitely make sure to keep Jason Miller on your staff. Put Steve Chung on TV more.
I saw that clip today. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, the people that going back to the De Niro thing. I mean, it's like, to me, that's an unforced error by the Biden campaign. But the problem is, who do they have on the ground to capitalize on that mistake?
Yeah.
Steve Chung and Jason Miller, who are just awful. They're just awful. So they couldn't take advantage of the situation. So, yeah, I mean, look, what would I say to Donald Trump? I would say, where's Melania? That's what I would say. Because I know that gets under his skin more than anything else. But say, hey, man, where's your wife? Why do you only see her on special occasions? Like, what happened, dude?
Yeah. Why didn't you put more days in the contract? That's probably what I would say, but I'm with you on that. Hey, Ron, I love your stuff. Can you give out that information, Midas Touch, how people can read your articles? Because you guys do such a great job over there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, MidasTouch.com, and it's MEIDAS. My weekly show is called Uncovered, which you can find on YouTube. It's live every Wednesday at 4 Eastern, but, you can watch last week's episode anytime. So, and of course, myself on Twitter, I call it Twitter. It's just my name, Ron Filipkowski, with an F.
If I told you 6 or 7 years ago that you'd have almost 1 million followers on X, would you have believed it?
If you'd have told me 6 or 7 years ago I was going to be a Democrat, I wouldn't have believed it. So, no, I was not on social media at all. I had never had any intention of getting on social media. I got on social media 3 months before the 2020 election. Only for 3 months I was going to get on to help Biden, but here I am 3 years later.
Keep up the great fight, brother. I love what you do. You're one of my favorite follows on social media. We'd love to have you on again down the road. Get that computer worked out. We'd love to have you back on. And I appreciate your time, Ron. Thank you so much for what you do.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Everybody, that's Ron Filipkowski. Big fan of his. I really love what he does on social media in calling out the MAGA nuts out there, calling out Donald Trump, calling out the extreme right with facts. He's a really intelligent guy, very articulate, as you can hear and see in this interview. And I highly recommend you follow him on X, formerly known as Twitter, because he is just a wonderful follow. And I love what he does. We need more people out there like Ron. Call out what we see every single day. I will take the opportunity to take some phone calls right now at 702-221-7283. Again, that number, we won't take a break. We'll go right to the calls right now because I know there's a lot of people that are chomping at the bits and want to get their 2 cents in. But Ron's a great guy, and I appreciate him coming on. All right, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Patrick, who's next up on PTL. Hello, Patrick.
Yeah, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, that was a great interview. I mean, y'all articulated some big concerns I'm sure that a lot of people have. But yet, despite that, we had Politico today put out an article that says Dems are in full-blown freak-out mode over Biden. You got Pete Giangreco, a longtime Democrat strategist who's worked on multiple presidential campaigns, stated that there's still a path to win this, but they don't look like a campaign that's embarking on that path right now. If the frame of this race is what was better, the 3.5 years under Biden or the 4 years under Trump, we lose that every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Okay, so there might be
talked about last week.
There might be a few. Patrick, there's always going to be a few people. Patrick,
we are well within 6 months of the next election.
Patrick,
so
I'm well aware. Patrick, I'm well aware. I'm well aware of that.
I didn't know if you knew what month it was, though.
Yeah, no, very, very funny, Patrick. Don't quit your day job. But I do know what month it is. I do know what day it is. Unlike the guy who you support.
And we're 6 months away from election.
Okay,
Within
thank you.
6 months of election, right?
Thank you, Patrick. I didn't know that. Thank you so much for letting me know that November is. Yeah, you're right, Patrick. I didn't know that. All right, so let's try to have a conversation with some level of intelligence, if that's possible.
You need to let people talk and not interrupt them all the
Patrick, this isn't your show. It's my show. I just let you talk. Now it's my turn.
You're doing great,
Patrick.
Brian. You're doing great.
Thank you. Well, I must be doing great because you listen to my show every day. You call into my show every day, and I grow on you like a fungus, right? So I must be doing a good job. So, Patrick, would you like to have a conversation, or are you just going to be an a-hole? Which is it? Would you like to have a meaningful? Okay, then shut up and let me talk now, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next caller because you're not the only caller. So you just mentioned a couple random people that are saying the Democrat Party is in trouble. Now, if you want to go by those few people who you mentioned, you can go ahead and you can think that. But you see, Patrick, I would rather talk to somebody that is not biased, a lifelong Republican, like the gentleman who I just had on, who actually has a law degree and is a former federal and state prosecutor, to give me his opinions on this case. The problem I have with, well, there's a lot of problems I have with you, Patrick, but here's the main one, Patrick. We can disagree. That's okay. I don't have a problem with that. Here's what I have a problem with. I've said on the air with you, and I say it almost every day, and I said it today, that if the jurors find Donald Trump not guilty on all charges, then even though I will disagree with it, I will accept it. And I won't blame Republicans, and I won't blame far MAGA supporters, and I won't blame a judge or jury. I will disagree with it, but I will accept it. But somebody like you, Patrick, if there is a guilty verdict, 1 count, 2 counts, 5 counts, you will not answer the question whether you will accept it or not. Why is that, Patrick?
I'll accept it, but it's not going to make a difference in my support for Trump whether I vote for him.
Of course it won't. Let me ask you a question. Okay, so fair. Okay, well, first of all, your characterization as nobody cares if a convicted felon gets into office, I disagree with. That's your opinion. But let me ask you a question. Let's play a game here, Patrick. I'm going to ask you.
Yes or no question.
Yeah. If Donald Trump was convicted of rape, would you still support him?
That is ridiculous.
No, it's not. He's a liable sexual abuser. Hold on. Okay, so you're not going to answer that question. Let's ask another one. If Donald Trump is convicted of 20 felonies, would you still support him?
Daughter in the shower.
Patrick, I need you. Patrick, the question wasn't about Joe Biden. I need you to focus because you like to switch topics. So now we're going to go back to my original question, but I'll ask you another question. If Donald Trump is convicted of 20 felonies, by a court of law, by a jury of his peers, would 20 felonies be enough for you to say, geez, I probably won't support him? Would that be enough, Patrick? Is there a number? Would it be 50? Would it be 20? If he's a convicted felon on 20 of them, would that be enough for you, Patrick, or no? Would that not be enough?
What's the evidence of the crime?
Didn't ask you about the evidence. I asked you,
crime.
pot him down again. Patrick, I need you to focus. We're talking about a jury. The question was if he is a convicted felon of 20 counts. The evidence was enough for the jury decided. I want to know where the line is drawn with you, Patrick. Like if Donald Trump was caught on video sexually assaulting somebody, would that be enough for you to say, I don't support him? Would you blame George Soros? I just want to know where you're at. If Donald Trump was on video.
There's no evidence of any of these situations.
Okay, I'm asking you, right now I'm asking you a hypothetical, and I'm seeing if you're capable of having a conversation. So far, I would say the answer is no, but let's see, Patrick. If Donald Trump was caught on video sexually assaulting somebody, would you still support him? Yes or no?
You're talking about the diary of Joe Biden?
Okay, so Patrick, I'm going to give you one more opportunity. It's very frustrating. Actually, you know what? I've given him enough opportunities. There's other people. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, Patrick is not capable of answering any questions, let alone a question that might make him look bad, because I think the answer is yes. I think Patrick would probably vote for a rapist. I really do. Let's go to Al. Al is next on PTL. What's up, Al?
Brian, thank you for taking my call. I wanted to make 2 comments.
Sure.
One of them was during the guy that you're going to have, the doctor that you have, it's going to be coming on tomorrow.
Yes.
And then the other one is I'm a lifelong Republican, an Eisenhower Republican, and my party is embarrassing me. It's an embarrassment to the way the Republican Party used to be, where we used to focus on policy. Now, let me give you 2 examples. Number one, you talked about Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
First of all, she's attacking Trump, calling him all these terrible names, and now she's in bed with him. That is an embarrassment. Stick to policy, man. Back then people used to run, and they went out there and did their jobs.
Okay,
like Dwight Eisenhower.
I agree with you, Al, but I don't want to defend Nikki Haley, but who's the person who started calling the names first? I mean, the person who really was going deep was Donald Trump, a bird brain, making fun of her husband who's serving,
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is that, if somebody were to attack me, I'd say, listen, and I was running for office.
Yeah.
I'd be saying, stick to policy, man. Don't attack. We have too much of that going on right now.
Do you think Donald Trump sticks to policy?
No, he doesn't.
Then
That's
why
exactly-
then why
you know,
are you
that's
supporting
another
him?
issue.
Then why are you going to vote for him over
Well,
Biden?
I'm just gonna vote for him because of his. The problem right now, everybody's so messed up. I do agree with his policy.
Which one?
I don't agree with his behavior.
Which policies?
I agree with him. The fact that he can, I think he did better managing the border. I think he did better managing inflation.
Well, first of all, hold on a second. What do you mean managing inflation? Did you see the economy when Joe Biden took it over? Did you see COVID? Did you see Ukraine? These are all factors when it comes to inflation. Do you see the countries that we compare ourselves to and how we're doing when it comes to inflation? That's not a policy.
Okay. Well, let me just say this.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree with you. So the thing, let me defend my point. So, I believe that maybe we could disagree, but I believe that after COVID, things were in disarray. People really weren't working. But the price of gas was really low. We were energy independent.
Because the country was shut down. The country was shut down. Of course, the gas prices were low. We've had the highest as far as profits from the oil refineries that they've ever had. It's called corporate greed. But you also mentioned border. He ran on, we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. If we're going to talk about policy, 17% of the border was built and Mexico didn't pay $1 for it. Wouldn't you call that a failed policy?
No, because we still had less migrants crossing the border.
Look up 2019.
You don't necessarily have to build a wall.
Look up 2019, Al. Al, look up 2019 and those that crossed the border illegally. But hey, listen, I just want to dissect, why you think Trump was so great when it came to policy, because I respectfully disagree with you.
No, that's fine.
And you look at the economy that Barack Obama left Donald Trump compared to the economy that Donald Trump left Joe Biden. It's literally night and day.
Well, I really disagree with that. I look at, I'm just going to make and I respect your point, your points, but I'm looking more at the economy pre-COVID, and I think up to pre-COVID he managed everything really, really well. A lot of people didn't manage COVID. There was a big gray area, but prior to COVID, we were energy independent. Gas prices were low. Maybe he did. Trump did get a better economy than Biden did, but then everything was in disarray. Can you really give Biden a lot of credit? I mean,
once you
everything got started again.
Yeah, I can. The infrastructure bill, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the lowest unemployment rate in over 50 years, the CHIPS and Science Act, the highest manufacturing profits basically in the history of this country, the NASDAQ way, way up. I can give Joe, by the way, gun laws put on the books.
What about food prices?
What about food prices?
Why is food? What
about
food is almost twice as much it is. You can't even
and
go
why
get
is
a
that?
regular meal for under $10.
And why is that?
At a drive-thru anymore.
And why is that? Is that Joe Biden's policy, or does that have something to do with the war in the Ukraine and coming out of COVID? And why is that?
Okay, because of the fact that if we were energy independent, we wouldn't be buying gas and oil from all of these terrorist countries who are using the profits to support terrorism, like attacking Israel and going in there and attacking Ukraine.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, but that's not Joe Biden's fault. I mean, if you could pinpoint to me a policy.
If we were energy independent, don't you think we'd have less terrorism?
And you think Republicans are the ones that want to be energy independent? When you talk about old school Republicans, the war in Iraq, Dick Cheney, weapons of mass destruction that were never found? I'm more like a Eisenhower guy. I get it.
Even he was an energy independent.
I get it, but hold on, Al.
So I'm just saying that at least
Al, hear me out.
Policy on that area, he was good.
Al, hear me out on this. So we could have disagreements on policy, and we could agree to disagree on certain things, and that's fine. But what about Trump's behavior? Like that's what I'm, because you seem like a nice guy. I'm wondering how can you look at your family members and say, I'm going to support a man.
I already said that. I don't support Trump's behavior, and I don't support this infighting. And maybe Trump did attack Nikki Haley first, but she should be bigger enough to say, you know what? I'm focusing on policy.
Al, if he's a convicted,
when Chris Wynn calls in.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you. This is important. I mean, if he's a convicted felon, are you still going to vote for him? You seem like you're a man of principle. If he's a convicted felon, 1 felony or 10 felonies, regardless, I know you're not voting for Joe Biden. I get that. You're a Republican. Are you going to vote for Donald Trump if he's a convicted felon?
It depends on what, there's having a felony doesn't technically keep you.
That's not what I'm asking, though. I'm not asking.
It depends on the felony. Haven't you heard of people who have been convicted wrongfully? I'd have to see which felony is.
Like the Parkland Five, like the Parkland Five, the guy who you support, who's never retracted, he wanted them to get the death penalty. Do you remember that?
No, I don't even know who that guy is. I'm sorry.
The Parkland Five brown people who Donald Trump wanted to get the death penalty, and they've been since exonerated. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, he never. Yeah,
so you're saying
I don't really. I think that Biden would do a better job. I'm sorry. I think that Trump would do a better job managing the country than Biden. I think that our prices will come down. I think energy independence and doing better at managing the border, not necessarily having to build a wall. I think those are two of the major, and then deficit spending. I think those are 3 of the major issues on a federal level that can put our country in a better position and bring inflation down, especially for poor people.
If you compare the countries that we compare ourselves to, when it comes to inflation, we're doing much better than them. You don't give Joe Biden any credit for that?
No, I don't think we should be comparing ourselves to any country. I think we should be looking at ourselves and looking at the people who are spending money. Oh, I can't go over there and say, I'm spending $11 or $12 to go through Jack in the Box to get a jumbo jack.
And that's Joe Biden.
That's a lot better than the people in Ukraine who can't even eat. I think we should be saying, hey, I know our country can do better.
Okay, but I mean, when you go through the drive-through and you spend $12 at Jack in the Box, that's Joe Biden. He did that. That's a little strange.
I think if we had a president who would manage our economy better, I think Joe Biden and his administration have a lot to do with that. On that one, yes, I do.
Okay, well, I would respectfully disagree with you on that one. When you look at the economy and when you look at triggers for the economy and economists, they will tell you that there are a number of different factors. It's why there's inflation around the world. If there was only inflation in the United States of America, then I would say you have a point, but it's throughout many parts of the world.
No, I think that I disagree with that for the following reason.
What do you mean?
We are the largest economy in the world by far. We're a $24 trillion economy versus China, which is only $16 trillion. We are, whatever happens here, how we manage ourselves is reflective of what's going on around the world. Go look at, we are the number 1 largest economy by far.
Okay, but it doesn't change my opinion.
Everybody else.
No, I hear you, Al, and I appreciate your call. I do. I just disagree with you. When you look at inflation that has been up throughout the world, we are doing much better than many other parts of the world. And if you think that, Donald Trump is the Lord and Savior that's going to save us, maybe we'll have another January 6th. Maybe he'll suck up to more evil, murderous dictators. But I respectfully disagree with you, Al, but I appreciate your call. Let's go to Carrie. Carrie is next up on PTL. What's up, Carrie?
Hi, Brian. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Perfect. Okay, thanks for taking my call. Love your show.
Thank you.
Hey, so how do I articulate this? So I know you feel that he's probably going to be indicated for all these crimes that he has.
Well, not all of them, but I think he'll be. Not all of them, but I think he will be a convicted felon. Yep.
So how do you, since he seems to be the mafia leader of our time, and everybody's afraid of him, how do you think the jurors feel?
I wouldn't want to be in their position. It's a horrible situation to be in. I feel like they understand the gravity of the situation. What I'm worried is that there's going to be 1 or 2 jurors that could cause a hung jury. That worries me. The gravity of the situation is I can't even imagine what it would be like to be in that courtroom, let alone be on the jury. You have a former president. Everybody's watching you. So that worries me, Carrie. I do think about that, and that worries me.
Me too. Well, you keep positive, and I'll keep there with you that they feel safe and they can walk out of there and no one's going to intimidate them. Right?
Oh, I'm with you. Carrie, let me be very clear. I'm not an extremely religious person, but I'm going to pray with my Trump Bible that Donald Trump rots in prison and goes to hell. I'm going to be very clear on that, and I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray with my lumpy My Pillow and my Trump sneakers and my Trump Bible that Donald Trump sits in a prison for the rest of his life. Now, that's probably not going to happen, but we're going to see if God is good. Carrie, thank you so much for the call. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Carrie. You take care as well. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Vivian, who's next up on PTL. What's up, Vivian?
Hi, Brian. How you doing today?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
I'm so tired of these people who twist themselves into pretzels trying to justify Trump. It's just so disgusting. And I would feel bad for them, except for what they're doing is affecting me and everybody else in the whole wide world.
Sure. Absolutely.
The ignorance of what they're saying and what they're doing and what they're believing and not opening up their eyes and seeing everything is totally mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, it is.
And I listen to your show every day.
Thank
I'm a subscriber.
Thank you.
But I listen to your show every day, and I get more like, are they serious? Are they for real? This is what I'm seeing at the screen because I'm like, I'm in disbelief.
There's always going to be ignorance, bigotry, and pure stupidity in this country and in the world. There's nothing we can do about that. But there are more Ron Filipkowskis out there that are good, decent people, intelligent, that call out truth over fact over fiction. And I still believe that that is why Joe Biden is going to win in November. I'm not taking this election for granted. I think it's going to be close. I'm nervous, but I would be a little bit surprised, unless something crazy happens here in the next 5 months, if there are more people in this country that are going to vote for Donald Trump. Now, I understand we're not dealing with the popular vote. There's an electoral college, but Trump lost the popular
I don't believe
vote.
in no polls. Everybody do not believe in the polls. They have let you down before. Get out there and vote on your own.
Amen.
And let them polls do whatever they want. Because how many times have you seen things on Facebook or whatever and do this poll and you just bypass it?
Yeah,
that's not a clear model of the people in the country.
I stopped caring about polls after Hillary Clinton lost. I think that proved
that was the most saddest.
Yeah, so I'm done. I'm done about polls. Whether it's favorable for Joe Biden or not is beside the point. I'm with you, Vivian, and I appreciate your call, dear. Thank you so much. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Joseph, who's next. What's up, Joseph?
Yeah, hey, Brian. Calling from California, and here's my piece. Now, I know you may disagree about Robert De Niro at the press conference with the former Capitol Police officers. I say what he did was right, and I do agree with Robert De Niro about Trump.
Sure, as do I.
And I don't care what those MAGA supporters out there they may call those Capitol Police officer traitors, but maybe. Yeah. At least they are more patriotic than those January 6th rioting animals.
So
as I call them.
Joseph, so we agree, right? I'm not saying necessarily what Robert De Niro did was wrong. I just think the logistics of it maybe didn't really work. I don't think it's benefiting Democrats. I don't think it's hurting Donald Trump when Robert De Niro goes out there, speaks for 2 or 3 minutes, and then a bunch of MAGAs start shouting at him. I understand his heart is coming from the right place. And obviously you agree with him and I agree with him on his takes about Donald Trump. I'm just saying maybe it would be a little bit better if he held a fundraiser for Joe Biden, if he spoke at another event where the logistics of it might be a little better. That's all I'm saying.
And speaking of that, and speaking of the verdict of that court right now, I do hope Trump is found guilty because everything about Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels saying is true. And I also think Trump should be in prison, and as long as the prison don't give him anything, no protection, no privileges, none.
Yeah. Well, I think you could give him his orange Bible. Maybe he can read it for the first time. I'd be okay with that. And that's probably just about it. But, Joseph, we're just going to have to see how this thing plays out. I tend to think he's going to be a convicted felon within a week. We'll have to find out, my friend, but I appreciate your call,
Sure
Joseph.
do.
Good to hear from you.
got it.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and coming up next, he's running for mayor. Early voting has already started. Kola Akingbad is going to be joining us in studio. And, we're going to touch on a number of topics with him. And we'll take some more phone calls on the other side, too. Quick programming note for you. Dr. Peter McCullough is going to be joining us back on the program tomorrow. Also, in-studio guest from the Howard Stern Show, Craig Gass is going to be joining us in studio. So we got a big show lined up for you tomorrow. All right. Cola's going to be joining us next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. You know, no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
I am Eva Olivia Chase, candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, Democrat with progressive ideas, including a woman's right to choose, public money for public schools, student debt relief reduction, and forgiveness. As a trans woman and a veteran, I will fight to protect the democracy of our country and support Eva Olivia Chase for Nevada State Assembly District 16.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com. And get started.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
My name is Kola Akimbade. I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas. As mayor, we will offset the off-season by diversifying our economy, bringing technology, high-paying jobs, and strengthening our entertainment industry. In order to tackle this issue of homelessness, we need new money, because the budget will never be enough. Therefore, we will legalize prostitution and tax money will flow. Today, go to our website, Kola, K-O-L-A, kolaformayor.com, and my phone number, 725-263-2660. Support our campaign and donate today. Again, kolaformayor.com at 725-263-2660. My name is Kola Akimbade. and I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas.
All right, welcome back. It's Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have some big announcements on the show tomorrow, by the way. Speaking of tomorrow, Dr. Peter McCullough is going to be joining us, very anti-vaccine doctor. Oh, yeah, we're going to get into it with him. And from the Howard Stern Show, Craig Gass is going to be joining us in studio. Please join my friends at Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. That means if you go into Jackson's Bar and Grill and you show your TAM card before midnight, you get $50 in free slot play. You can't beat it. Great food, great atmosphere. I love Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Check them out. So early voting has already started here, and we have so many different races to discuss, particularly today, the mayoral race. Carolyn Goodman, of course, the wife of Oscar Goodman, she is no longer going to be our mayor. Who is going to be the next mayor of Las Vegas? Well, the guy joining us in studio right now may be that man. He is from Nigeria. He ran as president, for president of Nigeria, and now he's running to be your next mayor here in the great city of Las Vegas. Kola Aktingbad joining us in studio. Kola, thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you again. How are you?
You're pretty good. Thank you very much, Brian, and thank you for having me.
Sure. How was your Memorial Day weekend?
It was fantastic, family time. I had the opportunity to take a day or two, to get some good barbecue, man.
That's good, right? Yeah, I did the same. It's crazy with all that's going on in the world, right?
Yes.
I try to escape it for a couple days.
Yes, yes.
And then we come back here today, and it's the Trump trial. It's Robert De Niro outside the trial, and the chaos, craziness, right? What times are we living in, Kola, where in a week from now, I could be calling Donald Trump a convicted felon, and yet there's still going to be a large portion, or at least maybe not the majority, but still a lot of people in this country that are still going to support him. I mean, I can't even fathom it.
Well, it's unbelievable. A few years ago, before Donald Trump, no one would have ever thought that we would have that situation. Normally, decent people at this point, they just kind of recuse themselves. They step back, but not Trump. He wants to tear everything up, on his way out.
Yeah. What does it say about somebody that they would support if in fact he is a convicted felon? What does that say about that person? I don't understand.
Well, you say we have to understand that Trump, what he did, he gave legitimacy to this type behaviors.
Yeah,
Things
I agree.
that we don't see coming like 7 years ago. All of that stuff is coming out now, and people people with itchy ears, some people were already like this, but Trump just stuck. She struck that. He struck that. He make it fun. He make it sexy.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it's you're right. There are people out there that they say, well, I like Donald Trump because, he tells it like it is. But I think it's the opposite of that. He tells lies. He doesn't tell it like it is. Somebody who tells it like it is somebody who speaks truth to power.
Right.
And I think for Trump, it's the opposite of that. But,
it's an abuser. Trump is
Right.
an abuser. He abuses people. He abuses his position. He abuses his privilege. Even his followers, he abuses them. He just took them for granted, and he knows how to stoke fear into these people, and it's just I've learned how to make them believe that somehow I'm for you, and Trump is never going to be for anyone but for himself.
Right. No, I agree. When you look at some of the evil dictators around the world,
Yes.
the names that come to mind to me, Vladimir Putin,
Yes.
Kim Jong-un,
Yes.
and yet, even over the weekend, on Memorial Day weekend, you had Trump that was bragging about how he has a wonderful relationship with Kim Jong-un. He's never said anything negative about Vladimir Putin either. I find this to be so dangerous, and yet there are people out there that say, oh, well, if Trump was president, Hamas would have never attacked Israel, or if Trump was president, the war in the Ukraine would be over in a day. No, it wouldn't.
Well, I want to tell you, what I think will have happened if Trump has been president. It won't be Hamas. It won't be all that little stuff. It will be NATO. It will be U.S. pulling out of NATO.
Right.
And that's just the most dangerous scenario that we can ever be confronted with U.S. pulling out of NATO. And I will argue that U.S. pulling out of NATO, I will argue that, within 4 years, 5 years, there might be a possibility of a world war, because there would be no deterrence for Russia,
right?
To want to invade, to want to attempt to invade even France.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you this, you being from Nigeria, for people out there that, immigrants who come to this country, whether they're legal or not, what do they say? What do people like you say, and your friends, what do they say when Trump says, go back to your country, the S-hole countries,
yes,
the attacks on those in this country, whether they're legal or not? He wants to deport everybody,
right?
Kids, children, people, how do you feel about that? I just feel like attacks on people that don't look like Donald Trump, or people that don't, look like me.
Right. Well, and that's one of the dangerous things. It normalizes everything, right? It normalizes stupidity, foolishness. It normalizes, being prejudiced. Most of, at least Africans that come into this country, most Africans come as a professional. They come fully educated.
Right.
All of us, pretty much, right? And when they will make statements like that, you just kind of get used to it. It's like, it's ignorant. And that's dangerous to the country. I mean, no one will have ever thought a U.S. president, they don't speak like this.
Right.
The governors don't speak like this.
And it's not just the president. Like, I look at Congress and I look at statements that like a Marjorie Taylor Greene will make. And I see the way, I'm not talking about a radio host. I'm not talking about everyday people, elected officials that are commenting on other person's physical attributes. I just find it
That's
so
a disgraceful.
This wouldn't have happened 10 years ago.
Yeah, no. Trump gave them the license to do this. And they failed. Republicans are failing right now. If you want to get elected, even though Trump haven't gotten anyone elected, but still they're fearful of just being primaried, right?
And I think, Cola, and I'm pretty sure you'll remember this moment that I'm talking about, because I do talk about it a lot. When John McCain was running against Barack Obama.
Yes.
And McCain's holding one of his rallies.
Yes.
By the way, back then I didn't call those rallies Klan rallies like some of these Trump rallies, right? It was more diverse. But McCain is holding a rally. He's running against Barack Obama. And a woman in the crowd calls him an Arab, calls Obama an Arab.
Yes.
McCain just grabs that microphone and he says, no, ma'am.
Yes.
He is a decent man, a good family man, that we disagree on policy. And at that moment, Cola, I was going to vote for Obama. I didn't vote. And the reason why I didn't, because I would have been okay with either of them winning, even though I didn't like Sarah Palin.
Yes.
And I think she would have been a horrendous vice president. I had so much respect for John McCain before then, too. But that moment, that would never happen today. But Trump would, the Republicans would never say something like that about Joe Biden.
I mean, McCain is a true American, he's
a hero, yeah.
Yeah, he's a hero, a patriot,
Right.
And they just understand, look, so we have a system in this country, right? And McCain knows, he understands. And, if he's going to win, it's not by his people trying to degrade someone else. He showed class. This is what we've grown accustomed to saying a U.S. president or someone running for U.S. president. That's
so
what
I agree.
Yes.
But I took issue with Hillary Clinton because I don't think she was strong enough in certain situations. Example, during the debates, Hillary versus Trump, when Trump was parading behind her and walking behind her, it's almost like stalking her.
Yeah.
Turn around and say, who the hell do you think you are? Get in your spot and show respect. And I believe if Hillary did that,
Trump intimidated
yes,
her.
It's got to stop.
I was so surprised because Hillary came fully experienced, but she allowed Trump to be a bully. She allowed Trump to have the type of momentum and the confidence that he should have never had.
I want to see more of that from Joe Biden.
Yes.
I want to see more of that in the debate. I'm not saying you have to name call. That's not what I'm talking about. But call out the facts. If he is a convicted felon, I want Joe Biden to reiterate that in the debate. He might be a convicted felon. He's a liable sexual abuser. I want Joe Biden to remind people about that.
Well, he have to. He have to.
Suckers and losers are brave men and women. Everyone. I want Joe Biden to reiterate all those things.
Yes.
And, this isn't time to mess around anymore. Okay.
Right.
Don't make the same mistakes that Hillary Clinton made mistakes. She's a very intelligent woman, overqualified, but she made a lot of mistakes campaigning. That can't happen. It can't happen.
She allowed her candidacy to be intimidated by Donald Trump. And what happened is a lot of people look at that and they see that as weakness. Okay, so there was all this report that Russia, they moved in and they, helped Trump to get elected. I believe that some of that is there, but even without Russia, I believe that Trump will have beat her anyways because all this hate group, they're all there already. Hillary's campaign organization intimidated already. So I think that was just like I said in the cake. That campaign, Hillary Clinton's campaign, I'm sure they regret a lot of that.
But Cola, I'm worried either way. Now, obviously, we both do not want Donald Trump to win.
Yes.
But if it goes the way we want it to go in November, which I think most Americans want it to go, and that's Donald Trump not winning, we're still going to be hearing from Donald Trump. We're still going to be hearing from the MAGAs about how the Democrats cheated and this was an unfair election and it was rigged. And then if Donald Trump does win, I think this country's in a lot of trouble. I think we could agree on that. But we want Biden to win. We don't want, and for me, it's more of not even wanting Biden to win, more of just not wanting Donald Trump back in the White House.
Anti-Trump vote.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I am a Democrat. But look, so I'm going to vote for Biden almost reluctantly, because I believe that the Democrat can have a different candidate, sort of, Biden is highly qualified, but I just believe it's at a certain point we have to go home, and retire. But then on the other hand, I don't know if any one of these guys could have beaten Trump.
Right.
So I felt like Biden is almost doing this for the country. Mm-hmm. I believe that Biden is saying, man, if I don't do this guy's going to come in, and some people are looking at, oh, maybe he's going to be a dictator. No, it's not going to be a dictator because this system will hold up. But the issue is it could have just tear everything up on his way out.
Nicola, what do people in your native land in Nigeria, what do they think of the political spectrum in this country now? Like the Trump era, MAGA?
A total surprise, a shock. U.S. is operating politically as a third world country right now. Mm-hmm. This is what goes on in third world countries, rigging, people want to rig elections, and Trump just came in, the Republicans, the system of secession has been so established in America, and for someone to lose an election and don't concede, in fact, in contrary, they want to bully in and suppress the system. We've never, I've lived in this country for 45 straight years. Mm-hmm. I never thought that was a possibility.
Yeah, neither did I.
Yeah.
Neither did I. I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened fairly recently. I never thought Roe versus Wade was going to be overturned. I didn't think we'd be living in a country where we'd have an insurrection, and people can call it what they want. If they don't want to call it an insurrection or a riot,
it was a coup.
Yeah,
a coup attempt.
To try to overturn the outcome of a free.
Exactly.
I cannot believe that day happened, and I'm afraid it's going to happen again. If Trump gets back in office, if he doesn't get back in office, I hope not. I hope I'm wrong on
If
that.
he doesn't get back in office, I believe that his power will be greatly diminished. Because now he can't brand himself as a winner anymore. If he loses this time, his power, his influence, I believe, will greatly diminish.
I got to tell you something, though, Cola, and I don't know if you'll agree with me or not on this, but, what Ron said earlier today, do I think that if Donald Trump is found guilty in this hush money case, if he's a convicted felon, will it make a huge impact? Probably not. But I do think there is something to say to the fact that if he's a convicted felon, to hit that home every single day with the American people, regardless of how much they might dislike Joe Biden. If he is a convicted felon, I do think that is important. And could it sway people's minds? I don't know, but I think it's important.
Yeah, Brian, but very quickly, right? Okay, if this guy happens to be convicted, then there's no way on earth that he should ever become the president. Okay, so that means the legal system has failed grossly. So why will you allow Trump to continue to the White House as a convicted felon, and you want to throw the book at some minority? That's just not. If you and I are convicted, where they will strip us of everything.
Sure.
So, I think, if he's convicted, they should throw the books at him.
I agree with you 100%. If you're just joining us, he is Kola Akingbad. He is running for mayor of the great city of Las Vegas. Let's talk a little bit about Las Vegas. Liberal city, right?
Yes.
We have a Republican governor, liberal city. People enjoy doing a lot of different things in this city. It's an adult city, but yet I believe people from all over the country are here, all sorts of different walks of life. I love living here. I know you love this city as well. Why did you decide to run for mayor? What do you want to do in Las Vegas? Why do you want to be mayor?
Well, again, thank you for having me here, Brian. This is just my favorite city on earth. And, but I don't understand why a city this beautiful, this brilliant, can actually go through the busy season and then this off season. So, I want to offset that with the off season. During the off season, all the working class people, they're laid off, and people are just, maybe laid off or reduced to part-time work. And, and what I want to do is to bring in, Fortune 500 companies, technology companies that will be unaffected by the off-season that the gaming industry will experience every year, because we're going to experience that every year.
Sure.
If there's a bad inflation, people don't come to Las Vegas. Off-season 2007, when we have a world economy, breakdown. No one is coming to Vegas during the pandemic. No one is coming to Vegas. So we need to bring in businesses that will be unaffected. And our dominant industry is actually in entertainment, but we have too many holes. I like Carolyn Goodman. I believe that she's done well, and that she's performed well. But we still have a lot of hole in a dominant, economy.
Let's talk about that.
Yes.
Because it's interesting. I go on the Strip. I see these casinos that are just jam-packed with people spending money.
Yes.
I go to concerts. I went to the Pearl Jam concert, sold out. I look at the Strip, and I know this was a Memorial Day weekend. I get it. But even during the week, there are people everywhere spending money.
Yes.
Yet I hear from some of these same people about how horrible the economy is and how their eggs are way too expensive and inflation and all this other stuff. And I'm like, just go down to the Strip and look at all the people spending money. Things are a little better than I think some people would like to make them out to be. That's my opinion.
Well, I actually agree with you totally, but we want to keep Las Vegas economy at that level that you just described, Brian, but you and I know going into some months, it gets really slow even on the Strip.
Sure.
And that's why we have to diversify our economy. I believe that we should have Disney Vegas. Can you imagine Disney Vegas, man? That would be crazy, Brian, And look, plus Vegas, we don't make stars. We rent stars. Look at Adele. Adele might come here, maybe $5 million Caesars Palace, like in a month. But, during the soft season, when the tourists are not here, she go back home to California. When she want to record a new album, she will go on, to California, or go to New York.
Right.
Why can't we have all of that available in Las Vegas?
I think there are things in Las Vegas, obviously, that we're never going to have, like the beach, right? We're missing that. But we've talked a lot about, how the taxes are a little crazy in California, and people come out to Nevada because they don't have to pay as much in taxes, no state taxes. And, we've heard a lot about maybe the movie studios coming out here.
Yes.
It is an ever-growing city, and now they're tearing down the Tropicana, and the Oakland A's are going to be the Las Vegas A's.
Yes.
So that's very exciting. We know
Absolutely.
that from a sports perspective, how much this city is growing just as a sports town with what the Vegas Golden Knights have done.
Yes.
The Las Vegas Aces.
Winning an NBA.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that's just a matter of time.
Yes.
Before probably several years before we get an NBA team. But the economy seems to be doing very well in Las Vegas.
Yes,
yeah.
our economy, I believe that is brilliant. I just don't understand how a whole city can go into an off season. I mean, waiters, waitresses, hosts, even at Denny's off the strip during the off season, all of them are feeling this punch, right? And it's not sustainable for people to have to work 2-3 part-time jobs just to be able to pay their rent. So, we need to bring in high-paying job like in technology. I will argue that technology, money from technology is probably 50% of all the resources going on around the world right now, and we just have none of that. So, how about Google? How about all these, Uber? I mean, Tesla. They're doing underground stuff. But I want them to do real technology stuff over here. These are high-paying jobs. And this way, people in Las Vegas, they won't have to be holding 2 or 3 jobs just to be able to pay their rent. And for me, I don't see how we can talk about curbing the issue of homelessness without affordable housing. It runs parallel. You can talk, you can discuss one but the other. And I don't know how we can effectively, do a real genuine affordable housing without rent control. But no candidate want to talk about rent control.
That's an important topic. Rent control is a big part of it. And I also say mental illness, addiction. There's a lot of homeless people across the country. And instead of pointing fingers at Republicans or Democrats, I think need to come together to help those that are mentally ill, to help those that are suffering from addiction, get them off the streets. But it's very difficult to help somebody that does not want to be helped.
Yes, absolutely. You are right on point. Look, so people that doesn't want to be helped, we're not going to hold the city hostage waiting for them.
Right.
But the people that wants to be helped, well, we have to understand there are different reasons that people become homeless, right? And it's not a one solution fix all.
Right.
So, some people, we have to meet them where they are. Maybe someone just lost their family, and all of that stuff. And some of these homeless, they're pretty much ready, man. They're ready to be integrated. Just give them a nice, good shower, and they are ready to go.
It breaks my
right?
heart to see people, living in tents on the streets, and no American should ever have to live like that.
But where are we going to get the money to do all of this?
Well, I got to tell you something. Stop giving tax breaks to the top 1% in this country. I think it starts there.
Right.
And I think, we're spending money in certain areas where we shouldn't be. There's no question about that. We're not helping our veterans and doing enough for our brave men and women in uniform.
Absolutely.
We need to put that as the focus as well. And stop giving, again, tax breaks to the top 1%, the richest in this country. And, it's not Democrats that are doing that. I'll tell you that right now. Donald Trump had the biggest tax cuts
in
the history of this country.
He's boasting that this guy is a billionaire. He's boasting, I don't pay a penny because I'm smart.
Right.
This is crazy.
It is crazy. So, if Cola, if somebody wants to learn more about you, we are not far away from the elections, and early voting has already started.
Yes.
Can you give out the information on how people can contact you, your website, how people can donate to your campaign?
Right. You can, please just go to Cola, Kola, CollaForMayor.com, and my phone number is 725-263-2660. Again, CollaForMayor.com, and, we have a very robust, robust platform, and, we are, as mayor from day one, we're going to move very quickly, all the initiatives that have to be in place. I'll be looking to legalize prostitution in Las Vegas because I really believe that we need the new money that legalized, organized prostitution will provide. Not only that, all the sex crimes, we just drastically reduce that, and the STDs, all this disease going on all around.
Not a lot of candidates are willing to talk about that, and I'm with you on that. And
it's inevitable.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it would be safer for people. It would be regulated, and tax money
Will flow.
There's no question about that. All right, me and Cola are going to be smoking a cigar later this week.
Yes.
You like cigars just as much as I do, so we're definitely going to do that again. Well, Cola, it's a pleasure having you here. We'll have you in again. This is narrowing down the last few weeks before the elections, and early voting has already started. So, it's amazing how, and then the November elections are right around the corner.
Yes.
It's
yes.
unbelievable. Kola, it is a pleasure having you here. Kola Akingbad, I appreciate you being here again, and we'll have you in again soon, okay?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kola.
Brian.
And
Thank you for
quick
having me.
programming note, by the way. Tomorrow on the show, we got two great guests. Controversial doctor, very anti-vaccine, Dr. Peter McCullough. Our first interview a couple months ago went viral. I have a feeling that might happen again tomorrow. Dr. Peter McCullough will be joining us. And then all the way from the Howard Stern show, he's in town. He's going to be performing at the Jimmy Kimmel Comedy Club, and he's a fan of my show. He called into the show a few weeks ago. Craig Gass is going to be joining us in studio. Very funny comedian. And then we'll give you the latest, of course, on the Donald Trump hush money case trial as well, which is nearing a close. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Subscribe to my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show. That's at PTL Radio Show. And we're going to have some big announcements when it comes to the show tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you tomorrow.
My name is Kola Akingbade. I'm running for mayor of Las Vegas. As mayor, we will offset the off-season by diversifying our economy, bringing technology high